Two Geeks, Two Beers. Episode 39, Back to the Future.
Next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.
Hello, and welcome to episode 39 of Two Geeks, Two Beers with me, Tom, and my time-travelling pal, Morgan.
Alright.
So last time you kind of spoke in depth about one of your favourite films,
Predator.
or if not your favourite film, Predator.
Secretly
Yeah.
my favourite.
And this time it's my turn. I mean, technically it's my second favourite film. My favourite film is Gregory's Girl, but we're never going to do an episode on that.
I don't anticipate a Gregory's Girl episode.
But it's my second favourite film of all time, and definitely my favourite franchise of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's Back to the Future, the movie series.
Oh no, wait, that's Space Precinct.
No one has sung ever in the history of the world. So we'll start with the beers, which I've left as a bit of a surprise.
So normally we have the beers lined up. This time, this is the first time we're doing a live reveal of the beers.
Yeah.
Tom's got them. I don't know what they are. I'm very
bigged them
excited.
up to you far much more than I should have done in advance. But
Right.
So essentially, I've got one each. They're both different.
Exciting.
Because I was at my local sort of wanky. It was a bar slash place you can actually buy the beers.
A bar / off license.
Yeah, because this is Back to the Future. We're looking for sort of brown
ales.
Yeah.
Brown ales.
So the first one is called The Nut, which you could say that Doc Brown is a little bit, and it's a hazelnut brown.
Hazelnut brown.
That's the first one.
Yeah, I think you might have oversold this a little.
And the second one is American Oak Brown, American Brown Ale Sparn Oak, whatever that means, from Siren Craft Brew. Which one would you like?
I'll just have the one that I'm currently holding, which is the nut.
Okay, let's try this live. Very good.
Cheers.
Cheers. Very brown.
Very brown.
Very brown indeed. So, I think we would have done a Back to the Future episode kind of ages ago, but
in the past.
But I feel like in like 2 or 3 years ago in 2015, there was a bit of Back to the Future fatigue.
BTTF fatigue.
Yeah, because there was that secret cinema thing which I went to, which was really good, and it was the big thing in London that everyone banged on about. And
what was that?
It was a special screening of Back to the Future, and you had to dress up and you had to get involved and all this kind of stuff.
What did you dress up as? Marty?
I didn't actually. You had to sort of dress up as like a 50s teen.
Right.
Yeah. But there was that, but then there was also the actual date from the second movie in 2015 where they travelled in the future.
But was it the actual
day?
Was it the actual date? Because I've seen a lot of like fake memes.
No, they did that for a few years. It was like, oh my god, today is actually Back to the Future Day.
Yeah.
It wasn't. But we actually did pass the actual day in 2015.
No one even noticed.
And so for a while, everyone kept banging on about Back to the Future. And I think if we did an episode then, it would have just been lost and everything else.
Whereas now, it's definitely going to be a huge success.
Yeah.
And our biggest episode of all time.
Oh yeah. Timely.
Timely.
So we're kind of going through the sort of franchise as a whole, starting, of course, with Back to the Future, the first film. Now, my first memory, I remember seeing it one Christmas. I must have been like, it must have been like 6, something like that. And it was about 1993, and it was kind of my first sort of understanding of what movies were. It was sort of, it was on telly, and it was that thing of like Only Fools and Horses did. You know, they had like one film a year.
Right.
So, like, it was Back to the Future one year, and then I had to wait a whole year before they played Back to the Future 2
on the telly.
Yeah, because it was like probably new at that point.
Right.
And so each Christmas, like, oh my god, it's the next Back to the Future film.
Yeah.
And I just bloody loved it. But I watched them on VHS over and over and over again. But I forever had whatever the televised versions were, because when I put them on DVD, I realised there was a lot more kind of swear words and naughty bits.
And a song. No, wait, that's Muppet Christmas Carol. Sorry.
No, because Marty says like son of a bitch and bastard.
No. Because I remember, I think I saw it a lot on TV, and then I watched it possibly on DVD, and there's you're going to see some serious shit, Marty.
They cut that out.
And I was like, serious shit?
Yeah. And also, at one bit, at the beginning of the film, when Marty's got to school, there's a wall of graffiti, And if you've got DVD HD quality, you can zoom in and it says the word Smeg. No, Smegma.
Right.
It's not even the Red Dwarf Smeg. We're talking like naughty kind of. Ugh. So just Back to the Future paused. Try and explain that one.
Filth.
Yeah. So what are your kind of memories and thoughts?
Well, so I guess sort of appropriately came at it backwards. I came at it in a weird sort of way, in that I'm pretty sure I saw Back to the Future Part 3 first.
You must have not understood what the hell was going on.
Well, I was a kid, so it was just like, a fun
Western.
Wild West adventure. Yeah. And it was, those films were on telly all the time, all the time.
Still are.
And it's like any excuse. So it's like Bank Holiday, put Back to the Future on. Yeah. Christmas, put Back to the Future on. Yeah. And I seem to remember so it must have been a little later, they would air 2 and 3 together quite a lot, because they sort of form a pair, those films. But they would air like Back to the Future Part 2 one day, and then the next day you get Back to the Future Part 3. For some reason, I only ever saw Back to the Future Part 3. I saw it like 8 times, which it's a good movie, but it's probably, arguably, I'd say the weakest of the 3. Maybe you disagree. Yeah. So, but like still good. Yeah. And so it was years before I actually sat down and watched Back to the Future, and then the latest one I saw was Back to the Future Part 2, and that kind of helped me fill in the gaps.
So I think Back to the Future was always a credible film. It was always, people liked it, but I feel like over time it has now become sort of, we're talking one of the best movies of all time.
Was it a success at the box office?
It was a success.
It wasn't a success, but it's still gone on to have a cult following.
Yeah,
nonetheless,
even more so over time. So let's get into the mood with the trailer for the very first film.
Steven Spielberg presents Back to the Future, a Robert Zemeckis film. Marty leads an ordinary life.
No McFly ever amounted to anything in the history of Hill Valley.
Well, history is going to change.
And 1985 is not his year. But Dr. Brown is about to change all that.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
He's sending Marty 30 years back in time.
It'll work! It's a flying saucer from outer space!
Now, he's trapped in the past.
It's gotta be a dream.
About to meet
chocolate.
His future father.
He's a baby tough.
Wow!
And he's making an impression on his mother.
He's an absolute dream. And he can sleep in my room.
Anything you do could have serious repercussions on future events.
Now, he's got to make his mother and father fall in love.
For crying out loud, I haven't even been born yet.
And only Dr. Brown can help him get back to the future.
Are you telling me that this sucker is nuclear?
Precisely.
Michael J. Fox.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Christopher Lloyd.
There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
Back to the Future.
Yes, Back to the Future, famously the story of Marty and his pal Dr. Brown. That's what we would call him, Dr. Brown, of course.
So, in brief, Back to the Future, 1985, sci-fi, adventure comedy, directed by Robert Zemeckis, written by Zemeckis and Bob Gale. Stars Michael J. Fox as teenager Marty McFly, who is sent back in time to 1955, where he meets his future parents in high school and accidentally becomes his mother's romantic interest.
Bit weird.
Christopher Lloyd portrays the eccentric scientist Dr. Emmett Doc Brown, Marty's friend, who helps him repair the damage to history by helping Marty cause his parents to fall in love. Marty and Doc must also find a way back to return Marty back to 1985. So I won't bother going through the whole, bit by bit of the film. If you listen to this, you're probably a big fan. If you're not, then what are you doing? Make it
in your life.
It now.
Yeah.
So on paper, as you say, storyline sounds a bit weird.
It's a bit weird.
Considering the whole accidental incest. I don't think you could sort of get away with writing that in a plot now.
I'm not convinced on celluloid it's entirely unweird.
No. But it's sort of done in kind of a way that is sort of weirdly pure and innocent. When
charming.
You don't watch it and go, ew. It's sort of like...
It's not sweet. It's not like Game of Thrones incest.
Exactly.
It's a very different kind.
Everyone's really gunning for Jon Snow to shag his arm. Everyone's like annoyed if he doesn't. Whereas Back to the Future, it's like, we know he's not going to do it. Yeah. It's fine. One of the main reasons I love Back to the Future is kind of unlike modern films that have to kind of explain every little thing. It's never explained how or why Marty and Doc are friends.
No.
Think about it.
No. And in 2018, you probably would have to explain why.
There'll be a backstory and a prequel. And
well, no, you just have to explain why a teenage boy is friends with an old man who lives alone in a garage. You probably would have to explain.
I mean, you could say that Doc went out of his way to become friends with Marty after working with him back in the 50s. So when Marty goes back to the 50s, you think,
but that's a causality loop. It's a paradox.
But co-creator Bob Gale did once say this. For years, Marty was told that Doc Brown was dangerous, a crackpot, a lunatic. So being a red-blooded American teenage boy, aged 13 or 14, he decided to find out just why this guy was so dangerous. So he snuck into Doc's lab and was fascinated by all the cool stuff that was there. So when Doc found him there, he was delighted to find that Marty thought he was cool and accepted him for who he was. So both of them sort of were the black sheep in their communities and sort of went with it.
That makes sense.
But I like the fact they didn't bother explaining it. You just sort of had to make it up for yourself. I don't think that would happen now. You have to ruin it by just sort of going on about it. So you love a good development story of how...
Oh, I do. I like almost happened.
So Bob Gale conceived the idea after he visited his parents after the release of their previous film, Used Cars, which I've never heard in my life. Searching their basement, Gale found his father's high school yearbook and discovered he was president of his graduating class. So Gale thought about the president of his own graduating class and thought, I've had nothing to do with that guy. So would I be friends with my dad if I was in the same sort of year? Because I bet if you look back at your parents, you think, would I have hung out with
My dad was a rugby player, so I definitely wouldn't have been friends with him at all. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. Something happened along the way.
So when he returned to California, he told Robert Zemeckis of his new concept, and Zemeckis thought of a mother claiming she never kissed a boy at school when in fact she was highly promiscuous. So Zemeckis sort of...
That's where Zemeckis' mind went straight away. He's like, yeah, I've got this idea. Do you think I would get on with my dad? And he's like, I've got another idea that ties into it.
Horny mum.
Yeah, hot mum. And he's like, I'm not sure that's where I was going.
Rob, you've got issues, mate. So they apparently set the story in 1955 because a 17-year-old travelling to meet his parents at the same age required the script to do so.
Makes sense.
Back to the 50s. Whereas, if they did make a film in 2015, it would be back in the 80s.
2015?
Yeah, if they made one recently.
Got it. I was just worried you thought the year was 2015. We haven't
2015.
We haven't had that much to drink.
And also the 50s was a perfect era with teenagers.
Rock and roll.
All that kind of stuff. And the DeLorean, the famous DeLorean, which was the time-travelling device.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
It was chosen because its design made the gag about the family of farmers who Marty crashes into in the 50s, mistaking it for a flying saucer because the doors opened upwards. And I thought that was easy.
Looks like an airplane without wings.
And apparently Biff Tannen was named after studio executive Ned Tannen, who behaved aggressively towards Zemeckis and Gale during a script meeting for one of their previous films, I Want to Hold Your Hand. So they were like, right, that guy's a prick.
Get this guy, ruin his life.
What are you looking at, butthead?
So the first draft was presented to Columbia, who were like, They thought it was a really nice, cute, warm film, but not sexual enough.
He's already got the hot mum. He's like,
enough incest.
Robert Zemeckis is like, we've got the hot mum in there. What more do you want?
They suggested we take it to Disney, but we decided to see if any other major studios wanted a piece of us first. So apparently every major film studio rejected the script for the next 4 years, while Back to the Future went through several more drafts.
To make it more sexy.
Yeah. During the early 80s, popular teen comedies such as Porky's and Fast Times at Ridgemont High, they were the big thing.
That's true, actually. Yeah, it was the time of
quite risque,
raunchy teen comedies.
Yeah. Way before American Pie made it even bigger.
American Pie was like the second wave of those kind of Porky's type.
Damn it, I told you we were going to miss him.
Well, it's okay, Pee-wee. Take it easy. We'll get him next time.
Yeah, but Miss Walker, a real woman, and I missed her.
Pee-wee, you're about to get laid by an exotic dancer in a few hours. That's a real woman.
Apparently Back to the Future was too light, so they tried it with Disney, but they told us a mother falling in love with her son was not quite appropriate for a family film under the Disney banner.
Not raunchy enough, too raunchy.
Exactly.
Incest with your mum lands squarely in the middle.
So they were attempting to ally themselves with Steven Spielberg, who produced their previous films. But apparently their previous films, Used Cars and I Want to Hold Your Hand, were both total bombs.
Which is why we've never heard of them.
Exactly. So they showed the screenplay to Spielberg, who loved it, but he was absent because Zemeckis felt he didn't want to be those guys who could only make a film because Spielberg was like,
hey, we've got funding for our new movie. Oh yeah, by yourself? Well, no, Steve had to step. Oh, Steve. Yeah.
So
Steve.
instead, Zemeckis chose to direct *Romancing the Stone*, starring Michael Douglas.
Wow,
instead.
thank goodness, because otherwise we would live in a world without *Romancing the Stone*. I mean, I'm not being serious.
There's a couple of great sort of franchise movies, those, but they haven't really stood the test of time, have they? They haven't really,
*Romancing the Stone*?
Yeah, and the other one. What's the other one?
What is the other
It was
one?
a sequel. What was it called?
Something of the Jewel of the Nile?
Jewel of the Nile.
Was it Jewel of the Nile?
Yeah.
I might have made that up.
Sounds about right. But they, you know what I mean? They're not Back to the Future, are they? They're not like... It's not like...
I mean, but what is Back to the Future? Leave *Romancing the Stone* alone.
What's the sequel called?
I'm looking it up.
It is
Jewel of the Nile. It's Jewel of the Nile.
Right.
Again. What's the capital of Russia? No idea. What's the sequel to *Romancing the Stone*? For some reason, my brain knows it's *Jewel of the Nile*. Useless information.
You lost what?
I lost my button. My button.
You're gonna lose a lot more than that.
These were Italian.
Now they're practical.
Essentially, Zemeckis, once he made *Romancing the Stone*, and that was a relative success, we were like, right, now we can go to Spielberg. Now we can take it to him because we've proved ourselves. We've done all right.
Yeah.
We can do it. So, executive Sidney Sheinberg, great guy.
Great name, Sidney Sheinberg.
He made some suggestions to the script, changing Martin's mother's name from Meg to Lorraine. So well done him.
That's one of those classic network notes, though. It's like, what do you think of the script? I love it, but her name should be Lorraine. Why?
What was the name of his wife? Actress Lorraine Gray. So that's why he did it.
Oh, fair enough.
That's why he did it. He changed Brown's name from Professor Brown to Doc Brown. So well done him.
So would he have been like Prof?
Yeah, Prof Brown. And he also replaced his pet chimpanzee to a dog. So
Marty had a pet chimpanzee.
yeah. What was that one we were talking? You did an episode where it was loads of monkeys involved in
Well, Planet of the Apes.
No. Oh yeah. There was one we talked recently where it was like. Was it Predator? It was like going to be a monkey in a thing?
Monkeys are a recurring theme in Two Geeks. Of course, there was the Planet of the Apes episode. The Predator was going to be played by a monkey originally. There was also an original draft of Dr. No in our James Bond episode where Dr. No was a monkey.
See. So Einstein was going to be a chimpanzee. So yeah. And he also wanted the title, so he did okay here, Sheinberg. He was like, some good changes, but he also wanted to change the name of the film to Spaceman from Pluto.
There's no Spaceman from Pluto in this movie. Did he know a Spaceman from Pluto?
Convinced that no successful film ever had future in the title.
What's he basing this on?
So, appalled by that new title, Zemeckis had to go to Spielberg and go, mate.
After all that, they thought they had the cred, but they had to go back to Steve and be like,
Spielberg.
Steve.
Essentially, he dictated a memo back to Sheinberg where he convinced him they thought the title was a joke. So embarrassing him enough to drop the idea.
Yeah,
good one.
Yeah,
Sheinberg.
good one, Sheinberg.
Yeah.
Oh, the Battle of the Bergs. Spielberg, he just owned up Sheinberg massively.
So casting, you love casting. So Michael J. Fox was the first choice to play Marty McFly.
All right, okay, Jennifer. What if I send in the tape and they don't like it? I mean, what if they say I'm no good? What if they say, get out of here, kid? You got no future. I mean, I just don't think I can take that kind of rejection. Jesus, I'm starting to sound like my old man.
But it was committed to Family Ties.
I was going to say, because wasn't it...
Oh, there's another...
Stoltz.
It's Eric Stoltz. Because Family Ties is a weird... Again, big success at the time. Huge show. No legacy at all.
Has no legacy.
No one's watched it for about 30 years.
Next, Alex gets hooked on a scientist who hooks him to a lie detector that hates him.
I got nothing to hide.
Do you see yourself as an obsessive planner?
Well, I wouldn't say obsessive.
Meet the girlfriend who does funny things to Alex on the all-new season premiere of Family Ties. Next.
I suppose in the UK it just never was a hit over here, was it?
Do you know what it was lacking, probably?
What?
Like, a lot of classic sitcoms that still have a bit of a legacy, a bit of impact. Good catchphrase.
Yeah.
It's like, Different Strokes has What You Talking About, Willis, and what's our favourite? What is it? Good Times.
Yeah,
the sitcom Good Times, which has Dynamite! A great catchphrase. Catchphrase comedy, underrated.
Family Ties does not have a catchphrase.
Exaggerated sense of one's own importance. That couldn't be anybody in this family. Holiday season is just begun. Okay, it's your favorite son, Kid of Dynamite.
So, with apparently Meredith Baxter, who was his co-star on maternity leave, they refused to allow Michael J. Fox time off work to do the film, so couldn't do it. So they cast Eric Stoltz instead, and they were impressed with his work. They thought it was good, but for whatever reason, after an amount of time, Zemeckis determined that Stoltz had been miscast. They realised that reshooting the film would add $3 million to their already $14 million budget. They were like, "Gotta do it. Sorry, gotta recast."
Do you reckon
it.
Stoltz now is like,
Yeah,
it's like
a little bit.
I know I'm the drug dealer guy from Pulp Fiction, but like I'd rather be Marty McFly. I know I'm in Anaconda, but I'd rather be Marty McFly.
So let's watch a little bit of them talking about the whole Stoltz thing.
The Stoltz scenario.
We were given a mandate that we had to make the movie by a certain date, and if we didn't make the movie by a certain date, they would cancel the movie. So, being a young and a hungry filmmaker, and maybe having a bit of an inflated ego, I thought, well, I can make this work.
So, as you do when you're making a movie, you finally make a decision, and that first decision was to go with Eric Stoltz.
We shot for 5 weeks with Eric. He was totally professional, but there was just something missing.
He's a magnificent actor, but his comedy sensibilities were very different than what I had written with Bob, and he and I just never were able to make that work.
And he showed me the first 5 weeks of footage cut together, and he just said, "I don't think we're getting the laughs that I was hoping we would get." And I looked at Bob, and I realized that he was absolutely correct. And I said, "Bob, what do you want to do?"
So I had to make this horrific decision, which was very heartbreaking for everybody. But luckily, I was able to convince the studio to let me reshoot 5 weeks of work.
Michael J. Fox, he's the guy you go to for the laughs. Stoltz, he's more Mask. He's more The Fly 2. He's not the guy you go to for the big chuckles.
So you couldn't see it there, but we just watched little clips of Eric Stoltz in scenes like the diner scene where he meets his dad.
And it's shot for shot the same. Yeah. It's actually, he looks remarkably like Michael J. Fox.
But even just from watching still images, it clearly wasn't as good. Clearly wasn't as good as Michael J. Fox. So made the right decision. I think you wonder if they'd be brave enough to do that now.
If it's like
too much money.
Joel Kinnaman, Jai Courtney, they're not delivering the goods. Let's get someone in who's actually charismatic.
So Fox's schedule was opened up in January '85 when his co-star Baxter returned following her pregnancy, and the crew made a deal that Fox's main priority would be Family Ties, and if a scheduling conflict arose, they would win.
It's like you say, Family Ties now has no legacy. Imagine if Family Ties had prevented Back to the Future. Yeah. Same thing as like, no, Pierce Brosnan, you can't play James Bond because of Remington Steele. It's like, who the fuck gives a shit about Remington Steele?
Exactly.
You're not only a nationally known detective, you're an international hero.
Well, that's a shoot, Fritz, Laura. Only a joke.
So, following Stoltz's departure, Fox's schedule, he made an effort with this film. So, during weekdays, it consisted of him filming Family Ties in the day.
He filmed them simultaneously?
Yeah. So, in the daytime, he'd do Family Ties, and then Back to the Future from 6:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. So, averaged about 5 hours sleep each night. During Fridays, he shot from 10 p.m. to 6 or 7 a.m. and then moved on to film exterior scenes and all that kind of stuff. But he said, "It was my dream to be in the film and the television business, although I didn't know I'd be in them simultaneously." I like to think that some sort of divine thing was going off in his head going, it's worth it, trust
Or
me.
he just knew that if he dropped out, they'd get Jason Bateman in or something.
Jason Bateman.
Like Teen Wolf 2.
But Marty was a personal hero of mine because he's not the tallest of men.
I thought you were going to be like, he's cool, he doesn't care what anyone thinks of him. Great. But it was just like, Michael J. Fox is short.
Because at no point was it a problem for him. He was a short guy, but he was going out of a hot chick.
Yeah.
He was a great guitarist in a rock band.
He could skate. He did that. He did that awesome thing where you skate, but you hold onto the back of like a truck.
I always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Just a great guy. Yeah, just a great guy. Just wanted to be.
It's a great wee little guy.
Yeah. So they Christopher Lloyd cast as Doc Brown, and he was apparently the second choice. The first choice, John Lithgow. He was unavailable.
Interesting.
I think Lithgow would have been good.
Lithgow's good and everything.
But Lloyd is obviously Doc Brown.
I'm from the future. I came here in a time machine that you invented. Now I need your help to get back to the year 1985.
Do you know what this means? It means that this damn thing doesn't work at all.
Christopher Lloyd, though, is another Max von Sydow. He's someone who's always been
Yeah.
old. I guess because he was made up to look old
Yeah.
in Back to the Future, but he's someone who has always been old and is still an old man.
Apparently, he originally turned down the role, but changed his mind after reading the script and the persistence of his wife.
Nagging.
Yeah.
Oh, stop yakking in my ear about Back to the Future. But also, he turned down the role. He accepted it after reading the script. Yeah. Oh yeah, obviously. Read the script, Chris. Come on.
Apparently, Doc Brown's notable hunch came about because of us at 6'1", he was considerably taller than Fox's 5'5". I'm tall. I'm 5'6".
Yeah.
I'm taller than Michael J. Fox in his prime.
You were vaulted that particularly low bar.
So they needed to look closer in height. So
right.
He had to sort of punch. Crispin Glover played George McFly. Zemeckis said Glover improvised much of his nerdy mannerisms. Director joked he was endlessly throwing a net over Crispin because he was completely off about 50% of the time.
Lorraine, my density has brought me to you.
What?
Oh, what I meant to say was...
Wait a minute. Don't I know you from somewhere?
Yes, I'm George McFly. I'm your density.
More about Crispin Glover later.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Yeah. I want to get onto the sequel stuff with Crispin Glover. Okay, good.
Leah Thompson cast as Lorraine McFly.
You're my
My name is Lorraine. Lorraine Baines?
Yeah. But you're so thin.
Just relax, Calvin. You've got a big bruise on your head.
Where are my pants?
Over there. On my hope chest. I've never seen purple underwear before, Calvin.
Calvin, why do you keep calling me Calvin?
Well, that is your name, isn't it? Calvin Klein? It's written all over your underwear.
She had acted opposite... She was only cast because she acted opposite Stoltz in another film called The Wildlife. And they noticed... They thought they had a good chemistry. And then he dropped out, and so she kept the role.
That worked out.
Yeah. Thomas F. Wilson cast as Biff Tannen. One of the best movie villains of all time, and yet the only thing he ever did, essentially.
Hasn't he retired from public
he's
life
a stand-up
now?
comedian, he's a bit of a musician, but in terms of movies, that was like the only thing he really ever did, which is what a role to do there.
Hey, I'm talking to you, McFly, you Irish bug.
Oh, hey, Biff. Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Yeah, you got my homework finished, McFly?
Well, actually, I figured since it wasn't due till Monday...
Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think, McFly, think. I gotta have time to recopy it. You realize what would happen if I hand in my homework in your handwriting? I'll get kicked out of school. You wouldn't want that to happen, would you? Would you?
Well, now, of course not, Biff. I wouldn't want that to happen.
The original choice, J.J. Cohen. He wasn't physically imposing enough to bully Eric Stoltz because Eric Stoltz was a bit taller. Cohen got recast as Skinhead with one of Biff's sort of cronies.
Right.
So Cohen was meant to be the main one.
Right. Is he one of the ones who delivers the famous?
No, that's the Future 2.
We'll get onto that. The famous line. But it is quite interesting how so much of the casting was based around Eric Stoltz, who then didn't feature in the final movie. J.J.
Cohen thought, yes, I'm going to be the main baddie. No, you're going to be one of the cronies because you're not imposing enough for Eric Stoltz. So had Fox been cast from the beginning, Cohen probably would have just won the part because he was significantly taller than Fox. Do you know what I mean?
Got you. I see. So he was cast as the crony because he wasn't tall enough to impose over Stoltz, but he would have with Fox.
Yeah, so if Fox had been it from the start, Cohen probably would have got the role, but Thomas F. Wilson came in. Melora Hardin was originally cast in the role of Marty's girlfriend Jennifer.
Oh, she's gone on. She was in the US office playing Jan. I think she was in Transparent as well.
So she's done alright for herself. But she was let go again after Stoltz was dismissed. The explanation that the actress was now too tall to be playing against Fox.
How much of this movie's casting was decided on minimal height difference?
So she was gone and didn't even shoot a single scene. And then Claudia Wells came in to play it instead, even though she was still taller than Fox, but not as tall.
Does your mom know about tomorrow night?
Oh, get out of town. My mom thinks I'm going camping with the guys. Well, Jennifer, my mother would freak out if she knew I was going up there with you, and I get the standard lecture about how she never did that kind of stuff when she was a kid. I mean, look, I think the woman was born a nun.
She's just trying to keep you respectable.
Well, she's not doing a very good job.
Terrible.
So, filming. I mentioned Alan Silvestri last time. He did the music.
He was the composer for Predator and also Back to the Future.
Yeah, so he collaborated with Zemeckis on Romancing the Stone. And apparently Spielberg didn't like the score for that.
No, do you know what it was? Romancing the Stone is obviously an Indiana Jones ripoff.
Yeah.
And they were like, so Steve, what do you reckon of our film, Romancing the Stone? He's like, yeah, I don't like the music. He just had to get something in there. He had to kick him when they're down.
But even despite that, Zemeckis recruited him anyway. Also, Huey Lewis and News, obviously.
Of course.
Recruited to create the theme song. So their first attempt was rejected by Universal because... So they were like, okay, right, well, here's another one. Just gonna give you the parallel.
Just knock that one off.
Yeah,
no worries.
The studio loved the song, but were kind of disappointed at first that it didn't feature the title.
It's Back to the Future. It doesn't scan.
No.
It doesn't scan.
So the studio were like, okay, well, we're just gonna have to sort of send memos to radio stations going, okay, it doesn't say Back to the Future, but it's for Back to the Future, so please mention Back to the Future.
But like a lot of great movie songs don't feature the name of the song. It's not like Seal sang Batman Forever or Bryan Adams sang Everything I Do
Prince of Thieves.
It's because I'm Robin Hood. Yeah, it's fine.
But they also did Back in Time, great song, the end credits, which sort of sets
ties
up
in
the whole time travel thing. So, released July 3rd, 1985, grossed over 381 million worldwide, which is pretty good. The highest grossing film of 1985. The highest. It won 1 Academy Award for Best Sound Effects.
I bloody love that sound effects.
As well as receiving 3 additional Academy Award nominations, 5 BAFTA nominations, and 4 Golden Globe nominations.
Boom.
Didn't win any of them, but it had a lot of nominations.
A lot of nominations.
And again, you look back at 85 and think, what else came out in 1985? Okay. What
won the Oscar? What was Best Picture of 1985? Be like, yeah, it's pretty good actually.
Amadeus. I mean, fine.
It's catchy.
Is it?
But was it as good as? Is it as good as Back to the Future?
It's not, is it?
I'd argue not.
Back to the Future 2.
Yes.
Series continues. Doc Brown travels with Marty and Jennifer to the year 2015, hence why I said it earlier, where he has discovered Marty's family is in ruins.
Your kids, Marty! We've got to do something about your kids!
Shortly after correcting the situation, Marty buys a sports almanac containing the outcomes of 50 years' worth of sporting events to make easy money. However, Doc talks him out of it and throws the almanac in the trash, where the 2015 Biff Tannen finds it, while Marty and Doc are fucking about.
So this is the official plot synopsis Tom's reading now. Well, Marty and Doc are fucking about.
Biff steals the DeLorean time machine and gives the book to his 1955 self just before he goes to the dance at the end of the first movie. When Doc and Marty return to 1985, they find that Biff has used the sports almanac's knowledge for financial gain, turning into a Donald Trump-like figure.
I was going to say, he's now president of the United States.
Yeah, which allows him to be Donald Trump. Getting away with the murder of Marty's father and later marrying Marty's mother. Marty and Doc go back to steal the almanac from Biff before he can use it to destroy their lives. They accomplish this in a complex fashion, often crossing their own selves' paths.
This is a synopsis so complicated you can't even read it properly.
When the duo are about to travel back to 1985, a lightning bolt strikes the DeLorean and activates a time circuit, sending Doc back to 1885 and leaving Marty stranded once again in 1955. Let's see the trailer.
Do you remember the future?
You've got to come back with me.
Where?
Back to the future.
Are we back?
We're back.
What do you mean we're in the future?
October 21st, 2015.
Marty, we're going to be able to see our wedding.
Wow. The future. I gotta check this out, Doc.
Look what happens to your son.
He's a complete wimp.
Don't talk to anyone. You've been looking, Bob.
Hey, look!
Don't touch anything.
I need to borrow your hoverboard.
And try not to look at anything. I didn't invent the time machine to win at gambling.
I can't lose.
I invented a time machine to travel through time.
Hey, Doc, I'm all for that. What's wrong with making a few bucks on the side?
Now, the time continuum has been disrupted, creating an alternate 1985.
There have been a few changes.
It's like we're in hell or something.
No, it's Hill Valley, although I can't imagine hell being much worse.
But they'll all be back.
Eat less, slackers!
Biff?
Hello? Hello, anybody home?
Well, it can't be you. You're so big.
Michael J. Fox. Christopher Lloyd. Michael J. Fox.
More like a couple of teenagers, you know?
And Michael J. Fox.
Mom, is that you?
Steven Spielberg presents a Robert Zemeckis film, Back to the Future, Part 2. Coming November 22nd to theaters everywhere.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably the weakest of the three movies in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
But still highly enjoyable.
My favourite scene is when, because so obviously in the first film Marty's skating all over the place. He's a cool skater dude, and in the second one he gets his hoverboard, and there's a scene where he tries to hoverboard over what is it, like a lake, like a pool?
Yeah.
And what is it?
You go. So it's Griff's cronies from the future, and Marty is on the hoverboard and he's stuck on the water, but he can't move, and so he goes, "Why you fly, you bozo?" Those boys don't work on water unless you've got power.
That's Tom hamming it up to the extreme. Let's hear the real version.
Hey, McFly, you bojo! Those boats don't work on water unless you've got power!
Sorry, I don't think I hammed it up at all.
Those boats don't work on water unless you've got power!
Don't think I hammed it up at all. If anything, I was understating it. So, director Robert Zemeckis said that initially a sequel wasn't planned at all, but its huge box office success obviously led to them doing it, and he later agreed to do a sequel, but only if Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd returned as well. So when they agreed, they were like, okay, well, let's come up with a story, let's do this one. But he did say he would later regret that they ended the first one with Jennifer in the car with Marty and Doc. Because in the first film, Doc comes back and says, Marty, we've got to do something about your kids. And then Jennifer goes off with them, and they were like, oh shit, we've stuck there in the film now. What do we do? Let's just sort of dump her here and just
leave her just asleep on the side, don't worry about it.
Yeah. So at first, the film was going to take place in 1967, but Zemeckis later stated that the time paradoxes of the whole thing kind of let it'd be kind of cool if they sort of went back to the 50s again and sort of retreaded old ground.
And used footage from the first movie intercut.
Very clever. The greatest challenge was to create the futuristic vision of Marty's hometown in 2015.
Alright, Doc, what's going on, huh? Where are we? When are we?
We're descending toward Hill Valley, California at 4:29 p.m. on Wednesday, October 21st, 2015.
2015? You mean we're in the future?
Now, I remember looking at that film and just thinking, God, yeah, so fucking far away. 2015 is like... That's millennium.
It's mad.
Millenniums
away.
We've passed it now, and I'm very depressed because none of that happened. What if we? I mean, I'll get onto it in a minute.
I'm pretty sure you can get hoverboards.
So
and you get those big screens. You get them in Piccadilly Circus.
But I wanted those self-drying jackets. We never got that. And the self-tying laces.
Oh, self-tying laces. Yeah.
Never got that.
Nah. But we did get Donald Trump. So look on the bright side.
The hoverboards look so cool. I remember I always wanted one. I made one out of cardboard.
Right.
So all it was just a bit of cardboard, and I drew a thing, and I don't know what I sort of jumped and stood on it, and didn't go anywhere.
You were a cool kid.
My dad sort of did. I found the designs a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You can get the actual designs of the hoverboard, like the pink one that he had.
Yeah.
And my dad put those designs and made it into like a plastic thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. And then they released like an actual one. You can get so it kind of ruined it. But I did win a fancy dress party on New Year's in Winchester a couple of years ago, dressed as Marty McFly.
Were you still jumping on your hoverboard and going, shh?
Yeah. So, to keep production costs low and take advantage of an extended break that Fox had and Family Ties, which was still going, it was shot back to back with Part 3, which was quite impressive when you think about it.
And that always works out well, like the Matrix sequels.
Yeah. Now, one element of Part 2, which I did not notice at the time, was that Michael J. Fox not only played his son, so he played Mike McFly, he played Mike McFly Jr., he also played his daughter, Marlene McFly.
So you didn't notice?
I didn't notice. So when I was a kid, and I watched it for like a decade, I just thought it was just a pretty girl.
Mom, is that you?
I just thought, I don't know who's playing her, it's a bit random, but she's pretty. And then like when I was researching it like years ago, I was like, oh my god, it's Michael J. Fox, isn't it?
That made you reevaluate yourself?
But why did they do that? Like a weird sort of clumps Nutty Professor scenario. But why bother? Why did they go out of their way to do that? They should have got the actress who played Jennifer to play her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no,
so just the reference to the clumps is still making me laugh. The clump scenario. We've entered the clump scenario.
Not only that, Crispin Glover was asked to reprise the role of George McFly.
Right.
But he was up for it, but then the salary issue, he was like, why aren't you giving me more money?
Yeah.
And so he was
Where's
like,
my money?
So apparently he said that he was going to be offered less than half of what the other returning cast members were offered, which I seemed a bit...
Seems unlikely.
I doubt it. Bob Gale has said nope. Crispin Glover just didn't come back.
Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but what would make sense? Crispin Glover doesn't come back, you go...
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we just recast. But then I guess they had to edit in footage from the original movie. Yeah. All the same, the way they replaced him sounds like one of the most batshit crazy ideas of all time. They're like, get someone who looks a bit like him, and then just put prosthetics on his face to look like Crispin Glover.
Rather than writing George McFly out of the film, Zemeckis used previously filmed footage of Glover from the first film, for like the 50s scenes.
Yeah.
As well as new footage of actor Jeffrey Wiseman, who wore prosthetics, including a false chin, nose and cheekbones, and various other techniques, including placing him in the background, or having him wear sunglasses, or having, at one point, him hanging upside down. But it worked on me, I didn't know. I assumed it was still...
I didn't find out that until years later. I was baffled and bemused.
And apparently Glover was not happy. He filed a lawsuit because he was like, you use my likeness, you can't use that, I didn't give you permission.
After the lawsuit was settled and you were able to start creating your own film and so many years have passed, were you able to find peace with the whole thing?
No.
Or it still bugs you?
What's particularly aggravating about it now is that there's this producer, Bob Gale, co-writer, who's made up new lies on these Blu-rays. So he's got this base of millions of people that watch these movies listening to this. He said that the reason I'm not in the film is because I asked for the same money that Michael J. Fox was getting for the second movie. That is as false as the prosthetics that were put onto this other actor's face to make them up to look like me. And it's the exact same kind of spiteful, mean-spirited creativity. He is a creative person. You know, he wrote the screenplay. I mean, and there are positive aspects about it, but there's negative aspects. And because I had confronted some of those negative aspects, I mean, it's more complex than that, but that ended up turning into this spite that's lasted for 30 years that now I've got to still deal with this guy lying about
You
me.
rubbed him the wrong way on the set.
Well, the funny thing is I didn't have the conversation with him. It was with Robert Zemeckis. I worked with Robert Zemeckis again on Beowulf, which I had a really good experience with. And what's interesting about it is that screenplay was written by Roger Avery and Neil Gaiman, who are great writers and also understand Hero's Journey story structure very well, and as does Robert Zemeckis. And the moral for that is a great moral. I love what it's about, which is that lies are bad. And it's interesting that it has to do with lies, because that's exactly what I've experienced with this Bob Gale guy.
And so since then, there's now clauses in the Screen Actors Guild, just in general, saying you're not allowed to do that anymore.
as if anyone would. It's like, it wouldn't happen again. It'd be like when Robert Downey Jr. decides to retire as Iron Man. It'd be like, well, get someone who looks a bit like him, and then put Robert Downey Jr.'s face on his face, and then just carry on. Don't worry about it.
Not a great plan.
But again, so I already didn't notice him as Marlon McFly, Michael J. Fox. I didn't notice that Crispin Glover had been recast. Jennifer was recast as well, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
So Claudia Wells turned it down because her mother was ill at the time. So Elizabeth Shue, who's now a big star in CSI and lots of other stuff, she was recast. But again, I just didn't notice. Because now I feel like I've got a thing that goes off in my brain. If I see a famous person in the street, I recognise them. I know who they are.
Well, don't forget, didn't you once tell me you think you've got like a superpower?
I'm going to be a super recogniser. I'm going to be.
It's not a job. It's not a job.
I'm going to assist the police.
Super recogniser.
That's what they're called. I'm going to notice people from far away and I'll be good. But back then, clearly didn't have the power because she was recast.
I can't wait for your crime procedural where you recognise people from far away, aiding the cops.
But in 2011, Claudia Wells returned. We'll get onto the games later, but she came back to voice Jennifer Parker, which was very nice. She did come back.
Bet she was pissed.
So the film did correctly predict a number of technological and sociological changes that occurred by 2015, including
Donald Trump.
Yeah, Donald Trump. Ubiquitous cameras, use of unmanned flying drones for news gathering, widescreen flat panel TV sets mounted on walls with multiple channel viewing. Video chat systems, hands-free video games, talking hologram billboards, wearable technology, tablet computers with fingerprint scanners. Popularity of 3D film in the 2010s was somewhat accurately predicted.
Yeah.
Is 3D still going?
Yeah, they still make 3D films.
I go out of my way to not go and see 3D films.
It's one of those weird things where everybody hates it.
Yeah,
it's not like I know we complain about a lot of things.
Yeah, it's not like
but
it's actually quite popular.
We complain about a lot of things and we don't expect the world to bend to our will.
I've never met anyone who's gone out of their way to go, the new Fast and Furious film's out. Oh, is it? Yeah. Which one do you want to see? Oh, definitely the 3D film.
Yeah. What? This film's only showing in 2D. No, I'll wait for the 3D screening. No one wants it. No one, especially me wearing a specs wearer. I have to wear. There is no time you feel less sexy or uncool than when you have to wear the double specs in the cinema, 3D glasses on top of your actual glasses.
One cool moment in the 2015 scenes, the film imagines the Chicago Cubs winning the 2015 World Series against the fictional Miami-based Gators, referencing the Cubs' long-standing failure to win a championship at the time. So in the actual 2015 season, the Cubs qualified for the postseason. This means something to America, listeners, not to us. But the Cubs lost the championship series. It's not quite the World Series to the New York Mets. However, despite losing in 2015, 1 year later, the Cubs did actually win the 2016 World Series. So 1 year out, they actually won the actual thing that was depicted in the film.
Who were they playing in 2015? The New York Jets.
In the fictionalized version, they were playing a team that doesn't even exist.
No, but in the real version, they should just let them win.
Yeah,
it's be like, "Guys, Back to the Future, let's win."
I see what you mean. Yeah. But they did it. They did it eventually. So Back to the Future 2 also brings up a lot of questions regarding time travel. So we are going to do a time travel episode one day.
Well, we are fascinated by different films and TV shows and their time travel rules and how they differ and what the rules are.
And in this film, it does bring up the whole kind of alternate timeline thing. I'll let Doc Brown explain it properly.
Imagine that this line represents time. Here's the present, 1985, the future, and the past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate to you, me, and Einstein, but reality for everyone else. Recognize this? It's the bag the sports book came in. I know, because a receipt was still inside. I found them in the time machine. Along with this.
It's the top of Biff's cane. I mean, old Biff from the future.
Correct. It was in the time machine because Biff was in the time machine with the sports almanac.
Holy shit.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
So does that mean what's happened in the first movie when Marty got back?
Yeah,
and
the sort of morally dubious end scenes where he sort of rewrites how his parents are.
Yeah, because it's that thing of, does he still have the same memories? Because surely his whole life will be different.
Yeah, but Marty is, if it's anything like the Doctor Who rules, Marty is out of time, so he is sort of preserved from changes to the timeline.
So he has no memories of what his actual life is now.
No, so that would be weird, wouldn't he? He has to adjust to everything being different.
Suddenly two different memories all at once.
Well, maybe, but I always presumed if you're out of time, in a time machine which is outside of time, when you return, you're.
So how do you just replace the Marty that had been there technically this whole time? Do you know what I mean?
I think you kind of like phase in, or maybe it's like Rick and Morty where you have to like kill them and take their place.
All right, Morty, here we are.
Oh my God, Rick! Is that us? We're dead!
What is going on, Rick? I'm freaking out!
Calm down, Morty. Look at me. Calm down, Morty.
Take it. No, I can't do it. I can't
calm,
do it.
calm yourself, Morty.
I can't do it this
Morty,
Rick.
calm down,
This
Morty.
can't be real.
Morty,
It's
you gotta calm
me.
down, Morty.
We're
Morty, will you listen to me,
apart.
Morty?
We're-
Shut up and listen to me. It's fine. Everything is fine. There's an infinite number of realities, Morty, and in a few dozen of those, I got lucky and turned everything back to normal. I just had to find one of those realities in which we also happen to both die around this time. Now we can just slip into the place of our dead selves in this reality, and everything will be fine. We're not skipping a beat, Morty.
There's actually a really dark scene after the end of the first Back to the Future movie where Marty has to like bludgeon his other version to death.
I can't wait to when we do the time travel episode because we're going to go long on all the different rules and figure out our personal favourite one that makes the most sense.
We'll enjoy it, no one else will.
No one else will. Back to the Future 3. So, after finding out that Doc Brown is trapped in 1885, Marty sets out to find the 1955 Doc to help him fix the DeLorean, which has been waiting for him in the mine shaft for 70 years, just go with it, and restore it to working order. Learning that Doc gets shot in 1885 by Biff's great-grandfather, Buford Mad Dog Tannen, Marty travels back in time to save Doc, who has become a blacksmith, and bring him back to the future. Arriving in the middle of a melee between the United States Cavalry and American Indians, an Indian arrow pierces a hole in the DeLorean's fuel line, emptying the gas tank and rendering the engine useless. Doc falls in love with schoolteacher Clara Clayton and considers staying in the past. Marty must convince Doc to come back with him and find a way to get back to his time before it's too late. After several dramatic action scenes involving using a speeding locomotive to push the DeLorean to 88 miles per hour, Marty returns to 1985 without Doc Brown, who stayed behind with Clara in 1885. When the DeLorean appears in 1985 on the same train track as planned, a modern train destroys the DeLorean. Marty worries that Doc has been lost in the past forever when suddenly Doc Brown appears in a new time machine modelled after the locomotive. How did he make it back then? Don't worry about it. He introduces Jennifer and Marty to Clara, to whom he is now married, and his two sons, Jules and Vern. Doc's last words of wisdom is that nobody knows their future, so they must make it a good one. And the locomotive flies across the sky and disappears, ending the trilogy. Here's the trailer.
Oh, let's watch the trailer.
From out of the west, in a cloud of dust, a thunder of hooves, and a mighty...
Great Scott. I know, this is heavy.
This summer, Marty and Doc go back one more time for their greatest adventure of all. Doc's living in the past.
Don't try it, Tannen!
But he's about to be history.
What kind of a future do you call that?
I'm going back to 1885 and I'm bringing you home.
It's the last roundup.
Come on, run!
It's the final showdown.
Hey, lighten up, jerk!
Where Marty makes a name for himself.
What's your name, dude?
Eastwood. Clint Eastwood.
What kind of stupid name is that?
Doc meets his mate.
You saved my life.
Emmett Brown at your service.
And Tannen meets his match.
I'll hunt you and shoot you down like a duck.
It's Dog Buford. Shoot him down like a dog.
Michael J. Fox.
Where'd you learn to shoot like this?
7-Eleven.
Christopher Lloyd.
There's a fella that can't hold his liquor.
And Mary Steenburgen.
I never ever met a man like you before.
Gentlemen, excuse me, but my friend and I have to catch a train.
This summer, Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis invite you.
Come on, Marty!
To the Rough Rider. Rip roaring. Rootin' tootin'. Straight shooting.
It doesn't hold up! It's a science experiment!
Rousing conclusion of Back to the Future.
Let the festivities begin!
Back to the Future, Part 3.
Yeah, on paper, it's probably the worst one.
It's just,
It's a lot of fun though. It's great.
No, it's good. It's good, but it's It's like, Marty in the 50s, awesome, slick, rock and roll, American diners. Marty in the future, that's cool. Well, West, it's still good, but it is the
Well, do you know who you've
weakest
got
one.
to blame?
Who?
Michael J. Fox, because the origins of the Western theme lie in the production of the original film. So during the filming of the original, director Zemeckis asked Michael J. Fox, "What time period would you like to see, Michael?" And
What? That's Alan Partridge. What time period would you like to see, Michael?
Fox replied, "I want to visit the Old West and meet cowboys."
like a 10-year-old.
Zemeckis and Bob Gale were like, but held off until part 3.
Do you know what I was thinking as well? Is Doc Brown obviously loves Jules Verne, the Man on the Moon and all that. And he's like, right, I call my kids Jules and Verne. Jules is like, pretty cool name, Jules. His other kid, Verne, I bet Verne is furious. Why is he called Verne? You call me Verne? It's not a name.
So the last 2 films were shot over the course of 11 months, apart from a 3-week hiatus between the parts 2 and 3.
When Michael J. Fox filmed some episodes of Family Ties, which was still going on somehow.
But imagine trying to do that. So apparently, Zemeckis, while shooting most of the train sequences, Gale was in LA doing the final dub of part 2. So Zemeckis would wrap photography and board a private plane to Burbank, where Gale and his engineers would greet him on dubbing stage with dinner. So I like the idea that he'd just, here's your dinner. They didn't have time to fuck about.
No.
He would oversee the reels completed that day, make changes when needed, and then he would retire to his hotel for the night, and then the following morning he would just drive back to Burbank and board a flight to California and shoot the rest of the third film. So like...
Was this really easier?
Yeah,
they said they were doing it for like convenience.
Why
Doesn't
do you have
sound
to do it
easier.
back to back? Just leave it a couple of years, like every other film in the history of time.
And they were lucky it turned out well. Again, Matrix sequels doesn't always work out well.
Mary Steenburgen.
The wife of Ted Danson?
Wife of Ted Danson. Dancing. Apparently, when she received the script, she was reluctant to commit to the film until her kids, who loved the original, hounded her. It's very similar to Christopher Lloyd in that respect.
Mary Steenburgen plays...
Clara Clayton.
Mary Steenburgen? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is the wife of Ted Danson.
Yeah.
I've only ever known of Mary Steenburgen as like a concept previously. I met Ted Danson once, and as I approached Ted Danson to interview him, he was speaking to another actor, and he was telling this actor that he should join him that night on a party that was happening on like a boat. This was in Monte Carlo, and Ted Danson was like, "You should come. I'm going to be there. My wife's going to be there. Mary Steenburgen." I like that Ted Danson introduced his wife by her full name, so I was previously only aware of her.
Oh, they get divorced.
No, what?
Well, as of a couple of months ago.
So
no. I've read it wrong. I searched Mary Steenburgen, Ted Danson. It says Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen aren't getting divorced.
Wait, what is that a news story?
I read getting divorced, and I assumed obviously that they're going to get divorced. Apparently, they're not getting divorced.
Imagine if she did leave him. He'd be dancing on his own. He'd be dancing in the dark.
Dancing in the moonlight.
But I'm glad they're still together. What a feeling! Be dancing on the ceiling. Sorry, let's talk about Back to the Future.
Apparently, Christopher Lloyd shared his first on-screen kiss ever in this film, so it took him a while, but it got there in the end. I like the fact that this film also starred veteran Western film actors Pat Buttram, Harry Carey Jr. and Dub Taylor as 3 saloon old-timers. Now, Buttram you'll know best as for his voice work, he played the Sheriff of Nottingham in the Disney version of Robin Hood.
The best screen version of Robin Hood.
Take a look and see what just breezed in the door. Why, I didn't know the circus was in town.
Must have got that shirt off on the dead Chinese.
And also, the music band that performed in the West, played by ZZ Top.
Really?
Yeah. Famously, two of them got beards. The one that hasn't got a beard, called Beard. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. His surname is Beard, and the one who hasn't got a beard.
Ironic.
So that's all 3 films. Still plenty to talk about, though.
Well, yeah, I thought we blazed through that. I thought I was going to relax, then.
Future for Back to the Future. Robert Zemeckis, who has approval of all films in the Back to the Future franchise.
He's basically said, nah.
Fuck you.
Because 100% it would have been remade by now.
Definitely.
It would have been a TV show.
I hate to say it, if Michael J. Fox hadn't sadly got Parkinson's and he was 100% well, guaranteed they would have done it. The studio bosses would have convinced Zemeckis to have done it. They would have all been well enough and they would have just done it.
No, but they would do a reboot with like Zac Efron as Marty.
Christ, imagine. Yeah, so Zemeckis has said he'll block all attempts to do any kind of remake or reboot of the original film.
My boy, Zemeckis.
And Bob Gale has said he didn't ever wish to see the film without Michael J. Fox playing Marty McFly, and acknowledging that his current health condition would make it impossible. He said, the idea of making another Back to the Future movie without Michael J. Fox, that's like saying, I'm going to cook you a steak dinner, but I'm going to hold the beef.
Good.
In a USA Today interview in 2015, the day of Marty McFly's arrival in the future, Christopher Lloyd said that he would consider making a 4th film under the condition that the original cast and creative team returned. along with a story worth telling. So.
Yeah, and we want actual Crispin Glover, not just someone wearing his face.
Exactly.
in a terrifying Texas Chainsaw Massacre scenario.
But there has been a sequel of sorts.
Go on.
The cartoon TV series, which I have never seen in my life. It lasted 2 seasons, each featuring 13 episodes. It ran on CBS from September 91 to December 92. And although it takes place after the movies, Bob Gale has said that it is not in any way in the continuity of...
It's not canonical.
Yes. Do you want to see a trailer? Or the intro?
Go on.
Back to the Future. Your favorite characters from the enormously successful feature films and the hilarious network cartoon series are on home video for the first time ever. Price to own. Each cassette features at least 2 entire episodes of exciting animated fun. Plus, there's a live action segment with Christopher Lloyd.
Doc Brown here. As you can see, I'm visible once again.
These time-hopping cartoons are filled with adventure.
Hope you are too bored, aren't you?
So fire up the DeLorean. Hold on to your flux capacitors and join Marty McFly, Doc Brown, and all their friends in the exciting animated series that has won the hearts of millions. Back to the Future. It's here today and available on video cassette. Collect the entire series.
At least 2 episodes.
Every cassette will contain at least 2 episodes. 3 if you're lucky. You lucky shits. Could be at least 3. It could be at least 2. Could be 3.
But did you know that happened?
No idea. I had no idea.
I don't think it ever came over to the UK.
No. We would be all over that if it had been on.
Following the conclusion of Back to the Future Part 3, Dr. Emmett L. Brown settled in 1991, apparently. So he just comes back to 1991 in this cartoon series. So at the end of the 3rd film, he's just living in 1991.
What about Clara?
With Clara and
good.
their sons, Jules and Vernon,
Well,
and Family Dog Einstein.
They made an effort. Come on.
Living in the same farmland where Clara lived in 1885. As with the films, time travel was achieved through the use of a modified DeLorean, which has previously been rebuilt after it was redestroyed.
Redestroyed?
After it was destroyed. How?
Don't worry about it. What's happened to their time-travelling train?
Although Marty McFly is the show's main star and Jennifer Parker makes occasional appearances, the show focuses primarily on the Brown family. It's like the Chewbacca thing of the Star Wars Christmas special.
Marty's not even in it.
So he's in it, but it's kind of focuses on Doc. Biff, the film's villain, Biff Tannen, also appeared from time to time. In addition, relatives of McFly, Brown, and Tannen families appeared in the past or future parallel time zones visited. Unlike the films, which took place entirely in Hill Valley and the surrounding area, the series frequently took the characters to exotic locations. And at the end of every episode, Doc Brown would appear to do an experiment, often related to the episode's plot. So Thomas F. Wilson and Mary Steenburgen were back. So Mary Steenburgen actually voiced Clara again. Thomas Wilson voiced Biff, but that was it.
That was it.
Lloyd appeared in live action sequences, as you saw in that, but not to voice the actual character.
But if he's doing the live action sequences, why could he not do the voice?
Who did voice Doc Brown?
Go on.
Dan Castellaneta.
Clarinet.
Homer Simpson.
Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
Wow.
James Tolkan also featured. He played Strickland in the original movies. He came back, but he didn't voice Strickland.
Who did he voice?
Just random character. So he was back. So yeah, I just like the fact that existed as a thing, but it wasn't official canon.
Oh, there you go. It's a little gem.
Yeah. There were also lots of games over the years. Telltale Games released a great one in 2010, the closest you can possibly get to an official sequel, and I really love playing this. Bob Gale actually assisted in writing the game's story. Mark J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd allowed their likenesses to be in the game.
which is important, as we know, under SAG rules.
Yeah. And Lloyd also provides the voice of Doc, while AJ Locascio played the role of Marty, but Mark J. Fox did appear to voice 2 cameo roles in the final episode. He played not only future versions of Marty McFly, but his forefather William, which is quite nice.
Yeah, nice.
So again, I won't go into the plot too much. It's well worth playing the games. They capture the kind of mood and comedy and all sorts. They've got the music and everything. But yeah, I'll play you now a little clip from the film so you get what I'm talking about.
Let's have a taste.
I'm telling you, this sale is a joke. Doc's only been gone for a few months, and I happen to know...
Well, you know him better than I do, son. But the bank is within its rights to sell off his stuff.
Doc, where are you?
As you are well aware, time travel is an inherently risky activity.
There's always a possibility that I could land in trouble sometime. You come to my rescue in the past, or was it the future? Anyway, when you get there, I'm sure you'll figure out what to do. Good luck.
Well, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I have to say, was he AJ? AJ? Something like that? He does a bloody
Really
good
impression.
Michael J. Fox
Yeah, really
impression.
good.
Gotta say.
Get them now on PS4 and all that kind of stuff, so well worth playing. In 2015, I had no idea this happened. Doc Brown Saves the World was a direct-to-video short film directed by Robert Zemeckis and starring Christopher Lloyd.
What?
So the short is featured on the 2015 Blu-ray and DVD release of the Back to the Future trilogy. It was written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, with music by Anne Silvestri. So Emmett Brown is in an undisclosed location outside Hill Valley. He sets a video camera to automatically track his body in order to videotape a message for Marty, and he explains that it is October 21st, 2015, 1 hour before Marty, Doc and Jennifer arrive from 85. He explains that when he travelled in the future, he discovered that there was a nuclear holocaust that occurred in 2045. He tracked it down to 4 inventions: the food hydrator, self-lacing shoes, the hoverboard, and the Mr. Fusion. Again, I'm not going to ruin it. I could talk about all of it, but it's worth watching. It's only like 10-15 minutes long. Annoyingly, it's not on YouTube, but get the Blu-ray, DVD or whatever.
Yeah, shut up. What's wrong with you? Stop trying to freeload.
Yeah, exactly. But it's great.
Little bonus, little addition to the canon.
And the cast have reunited over the years, including one particularly great moment in 2015 on Jimmy Kimmel.
Doc, where are we? According to my calculations, this is the year 2015, Marty. The future.
Whoa, 2015, that's heavy. All these people must have got here in their flying cars.
No, you know what? We never figured out flying cars, actually. We never did figure that out.
Who are you?
I'm sorry, my name is Jimmy Kimmel. You time traveled into the middle of my talk show. So.
You have a talk show?
Yeah.
What happened to Johnny Carson?
Johnny Carson passed away.
No.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he did. I'm sorry you had to find out on TV. It's not, I mean, but it was quite a while ago, and he was older.
So, TV, are people watching us on TV right now?
Yeah, people are. Let me just clarify. People are watching us on TV right now, although honestly, most people will probably watch us on their phones on the toilet tomorrow.
That's gross.
It's better than it sounds. Not so terrible. It's really, actually kind of fun.
So, you haven't invented flying cars yet?
No, we have not, yeah.
You at least have hoverboards?
They call them hoverboards, but they're not really hoverboards. Yeah.
Did you achieve peace in the Middle East?
Oh, no.
Beautiful scene together again.
Mate, you would have.
If I was there,
urinated yourself.
Yeah.
Covered yourself in piss. If you were there. I don't know what I'm driving at here. What I'm trying to say is you would have been very excited.
Facts. You like facts, don't you?
I love facts, mate.
Yeah, we'll have a few facts. So, Christopher Lloyd only ever has one scene with Leah Thompson in all 3 films. Johnny Depp auditioned for Marty, while Dudley Moore and Jeff Goldblum were considered for Doc.
Really? So,
whether I take that as realistic or not, I don't know.
Johnny Depp wasn't as good as Eric Stoltz.
No.
I wonder, what's Depp's height? How would that have panned out? Like, who would have lost their roles? Who would have kept their roles if it had been Depp?
Michael J. Fox is 3 years older than on-screen dad Crispin Glover and just over a week younger than on-screen mum Leah Thompson. Hill Valley's town is located at a backlot at Universal Studios and has been used for many other films and TV shows, including To Kill a Mockingbird, Knight Rider, Gremlins, Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin? Or Batman and Robin?
And Robin.
Batman and Robin.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Bruce Almighty. I'm going to show you a photo just so you understand what I'm saying.
I frequently don't.
So, see, that is a picture of Jim Carrey running about, and you can see the clock tower in the background. It's the exact same set.
This has just been there for like decades.
Yeah, just used for lots of other films.
Fascinating.
Very strange. Billy Zane made his first film appearance in Back to the Future.
I love Billy Zane. You know I love Billy Zane.
Yeah. While Elijah Wood debuted in part 2 as the little kid playing the computer game.
Yes, he did. Pre-North.
And little nerdy fact, there are actually 4 DeLoreans in 1955. So you've got the first one that Marty travels back with.
Boom.
The one that old Biff uses in part 2 to come back to. The one that Marty goes back again with in part 2.
Boom.
And the one that Doc has stored in the caves after being set back to the 1880s.
Boom.
So 4 DeLoreans all exist at the same time in the 50s.
Quattro DeLorean.
Yes.
Little car joke there for all the car fanatics.
Well, that is about it. There's probably more we could discuss, but I'm exhausted.
I'm knackered.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Easily my favourite trilogy of all time. But just a perfect amount of fun, sci-fi, romance, comedy, adventure, charm. It's great.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you just don't like films.
Sort yourself out.
Yeah.
I mean, really. Yeah. Do you know why I think you love it as well? What? It's because no one's ever remade it. So it's perfect.
It's contained.
It's just it's no one's ever remade it or tried to do a revival.
If they did do a 4th film, even Michael J. Fox came back and Christopher Lloyd was back and they tried to do it, I'd obviously be so excited to watch it. I'd be very excited, but there'd be that part of me that was like, you've ruined it now.
There's something about just leaving something precious, and leave it as it is.
So if you enjoyed that, I'd say head over to our website, 2geeks2beers.com. Download all 39 episodes.
39, including this one.
So 38 for this. And go on our social channels.
Yes, which is 2 Geeks Cast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Yes. Mostly just pictures of us drinking beer, and who wouldn't want to see that? So check us out on social.
And please head over to iTunes as well to give us a rating, because we love it when we see that.
We love a little.
It helps a lot.
I love a little rating, little review, 5 stars, obviously. Yeah. What else would you give us? Why would you be cruel?
Why are you weird about it?
Don't be weird. Just give us 5 stars.
So what are we doing next time?
Well, we are doing our second in our irregular series of episodes that focus on just one person. Yeah. So we did our Keanu Reeves episode. Yeah. I think we can all agree that was a big success. Yeah. And next time I'll be hosting a Bruce Lee episode, delving into the filmography of Bruce Lee, his movies, his sadly quite short-lived movie career, but also the impact he had, and some of the just quite bizarre sort of cultural impact that he had as well. So we'll be delving into that in the next episode of 2 Geeks, 2 Beers.
So we're going to end. I'm actually going to kind of let you choose what music to end with.
Oh, interactive.
I'm not going to do Busted's Year 3000, even though they mentioned the flux capacitor.
And a flux capacitor.
So you've got a choice between. So you've either got Power of Love,
classic,
obviously, Back in Time, which was the underrated one, which was the one at the end credits, or the Back to the Future version of Johnny B. Good.
I want to hear Johnny B. Good.
Yeah.
The
Back to the Future version, not Chuck Berry.
No, I want to hear. You got to hear this. I'm doing the little phone thing with my hands. Let's hear Johnny B. Good.
Chuck. That's your cousin, Marvin Berry. Johnny B. Good performed. Actually, do you know, I'm going to find out who sung this. Not performed by Michael J. Fox, performed by Mark Campbell and band.
Cheers.
So cheers to that.
Cheers, Mark and band.
Yeah.
That was some serious shit.
All right. This is an oldie, but well, it's an oldie where I come from. All right, guys, listen, this is a blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Johnny be good, who never ever learned to read or
So I like the fact that Chuck Berry hears that.
Yeah.
And
sort of distantly over the phone.
And then word for word.
Chord for chord.
Recreates the entire song over the phone. Incredible.
Talented guy.
So, agreeing to produce it, Spielberg set it up with his company, and that's where it all started.